How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the Wellness Hustle. I almost forgot our name. But yeah, this is going to be a fun project because this is the first time that my wife and I have collaborated on the health, fitness, well-being space.
Yeah.
And we are completely unprepared. We don't know where this is going to go.
Yeah, for sure.
We were supposed to plan, but, life happens.
Life happens.
And here we are. And I think the first episode should probably be some sort of introduction.
The funniest thing that's happened
What?
is we don't know who to look at. We keep looking at each other and missing, so that's setting the tone right there.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to break the fourth wall here.
I know. You're so into your audience. I thought we were having a conversation.
We'll see how this goes. Maybe since a lot of people know what I do, you can probably go first of who you are.
Oh my god, how far back am I going?
As far back as you want. Maybe just do a summary of your life.
Of my whole 33 years of life.
And then how you became a naturopathic doctor and that whole spiel. Go!
I am the eldest daughter of immigrant parents and we immigrated from the Philippines. I was born there, came here when I was 7. I saw my parents start over their whole careers just for us kids to have a better life, just like what most immigrant parents are thinking for their kids. So I saw the effect of hard work and determination, and that was instilled in me from the very beginning. I was also, like I said, I'm also the eldest sister of 2 siblings, and so being a third parent, hardworking, that's very much who I am. Met Raph in high school, started our whole lives together, and then I started going to school. The biggest kind of thing was I always wanted to be a doctor. I didn't think I was going to be good enough or smart enough or enough to be what I wanted to be, and so I was just going to settle for whatever was second best, which was, at the time, was to be a teacher, which is, it's still an amazing job, and it kind of leads into what I'm doing currently. But one day Raph and I had a sit down, and he was like, what do you really want to do with your life? And I just told him or he said no, nothing, there's no issues, there's no barriers, just tell me what it is. And I said, I want to be a doctor. And he said, okay, do it. And he was the biggest reason why I am doing what I'm doing now, is because he literally pushed me out of my comfort zone, because I'm so good in my comfort zone. I'm so good at it. But he just gently, he didn't do it in a harsh way, he just gently was like, you should do it. And I was like, okay. So I went down the path of okay, what is it like to go, what does it take to become a medical doctor? Because at that point I was kind of halfway, or just in the beginnings of my undergrad, which I was doing a BA in psych. I started looking into what it would be like to go to medical school, having to take MCATs and all that stuff. And then Raph and I have these 2 friends who were going to naturopathic medical school, and he was like, why don't you look into that? And I had never heard of that before, because my mom is an LPN, she's a nurse, and so I only knew that side. But even I didn't even go to any of my doctors, because it's not my thing. I was just I always just believed well, I'm healthy enough, I'm good, I don't need to go and do anything extra. But he was like, why don't you see what that is like? And I had never heard of it. So he was like, why don't you do go for a student for a day at the school and see? And I did, and I was just mind blown. Because I was like, we have so many more options. I did not know that. We're so used to just going to doctors and doctors giving us this, fix it, and then it's done. Naturopathic medicine was if that doesn't fit, here's another one. If that doesn't work, here's another thing. Or let's do all these things together just to help. And I was like, more people need to do this, and this is what I need to do. So it lined up, it fell into place. I applied, I got in, I started school, and now, I mean, it took some time. Like, we had 4 years of hard work. Our marriage did not suffer, which is great, because I've heard a lot. Remember, we were talking to our midwife, and she's like, oh, you went to naturopathic medical school, and you guys survived? Great. And I was like, yeah.
Is that a thing?
We're fine. But yeah, so 4 years of school later, then my final test of being a mom came, and then now I'm working, which is awesome. So kind of like a long story short, all of that stuff that was like instilled in me, hard work, determination, nurturing, being like a parent, all that kind of like set me up to where I am now, which is a naturopathic dog mom.
There you go.
Yeah.
So what's kind of interesting and cool is that I haven't really had like a guest on my podcast, and like just listening to you talk reminds me of like the times I used to interview, and I would like ask one question and then they would just go off like how you did, and then I'm like pinning all these points that I want to like unpack. And maybe what we can like broaden in this next discussion is like that comment you made about like you going to med school didn't affect our relationship.
Yeah.
And like we were almost like surprised that was a thing. So maybe you could speak upon that and what you think made us solid during that time. Like, you know, I can be annoying sometimes and get on your nerves.
Yeah.
But maybe you could speak on why you think we kind of...
You know, we... At that point, we had been together for... I don't even know. How long have we been together now? But we had already set, like, really good foundations for us already. I mean, obviously, when we were in high school, we were super young. And so that, like, nobody knew if we were going to last. Like, we said we were going to last. We're, like, together forever, but we don't know. But I think because we had so many years before we had to, like, do all the really hard things, like get married, like, and all that stuff. We had a lot of time to spend together and cultivate our relationship, get to know each other. It really helped to kind of, like, set it up. And plus, also, what I said, you're the one that helped me, guided me into, you know, going to school. And so, like, there's complete trust there. And then in the beginning, when I was starting, you were all like, I'm going to be your guinea pig, like, do everything on me. And so, and I did. All the physical exams I had to practice on multiple times, practicing my lines that I needed to say. Like, you heard it all. You had everything I told you to change, practicing all of my like orthopedic assessments on you, like move your arm, do this, take your shirt off, do everything. You did everything. Acupuncture. And, like, sometimes, yeah, you were, like, dragging your feet a little bit, but you were there to support me throughout it. And, you know, we were both working hard. You made dinner when you had to. Like, we supported each other. And I think that's the best part is, like, I had complete trust in you. I didn't have to worry, like, oh, no, I'm not spending enough time with you. Like, we took, like, the little time that we had, and what did we do? We binge watched our shows. We played our video games. Yeah. We spent time together. We made special weekends. We did our, like, fancy feasts of the week, or like special drinks, like specialty drinks of the weekend. Like, we did the small things to celebrate the small things. And yeah, it was good. Mm-hmm. It was fine. And we made it. We celebrated the small milestones. We, like, did everything that we could, because that's what we always have been doing. Yeah. From the beginning of our relationship. Yeah. So we just continued. Nothing changed other than, you know, the next chapter in our relationship.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic because, like, when I hear stories from people that I meet about their relationships or the relationships that didn't work, one of the things or pain points was like, oh, this person didn't have enough time, or they would want to do their own thing and whatever. But when I kind of look back in our relationship that started in high school, which, by the way, we were like 16, and flash forward to today, like, it's crazy that we're still together. But one of the things I realized that we did very well was that we put ourselves 100% in, and not just like, yeah, we'll see, oh, I'm busy this weekend, and whatever it was.
Yeah.
But I think we kind of created our own world,
yeah,
and just pushed out anything that would affect it. So we literally went into it 100% and got 100% out of it.
Yeah.
So I think, and that's why I find, like, dating, when I hear like clients or friends talking about their dating life, I'm like, that is so stressful. I can't
imagine.
But I don't know, I think overall, if you just put 100% into like really anything in life, you kind of get the same back.
Totally.
And you can apply that to anything, like your health, your fitness, your financial, your personal, whatever it is. But I don't think a lot of people do actually put 100%. They might take the step to go towards it, but then they're expecting 100% back. And I don't know,
But like, it also helps that you're my favorite person in the world.
That does help. I am pretty cool.
Like, sometimes, like, I think I had this one conversation with one person I used to work with, and they're like, oh, you've been together with your boyfriend. I think at the time we had just gotten married. You've been together for like 10 plus years now. Like, how can you, don't you get tired? And I'm like, no, I can't wait to be with them more. I want to be with him more. I want us to be skin to skin. Like, I want to be in your skin. Like, I want to be that close to him because I love him so much. She was just like, oh, I don't understand that. And I'm like, you don't. You won't know until you find that person.
Yeah.
And I found that person right away, thankfully.
Yeah, because like those comments, like we talk about this all the time, where you hear people are like, oh, my husband's away for the weekend. Thank God. And I'm like, that's weird. Like, don't you want to spend time with your husband?
But like, it is important to spend time, you know, away from each other. Sure. I don't feel like that's ever been the case for us, though. But of course, everyone's different, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone has, like, we grew up together. We were together since we were 16. Mm-hmm. Other people who, might have met later in life, of course, they've established their own routines, and they have their own things and hobbies that they want to do by themselves. But that just wasn't us, because we grew up together. Doesn't mean that we don't have our own interests. We do, but I think we just value each other's time. And so we just want to spend time together as much as possible because we both work hard. Yeah.
All right. I think we should put a pin on that. Okay. Because I feel like relationships in general, we could probably have a whole podcast episode on. I knew that we were going to talk about this, but I didn't know that we were going to go so deep. But maybe the next thing that we can unwrap is basically what naturopathic medicine really is. Because I think most people, when they hear it, at least here on the West Coast in Canada, most people know what naturopathic doctors are. Other parts of the world, it's not as popular. Also, even in Canada, there's so many different, not legalities, but scope of practice, province by province. At least here in BC, NDs can do quite a bit. So maybe maybe you can just do an overview of what a naturopathic doctor is. What
very general, because it's so big. Actually, somebody described it to me, and I think it's a really easy way to understand, is a naturopathic doctor is like a private general practitioner, right? Mm-hmm. The thing about naturopathic doctors that I fell in love with was the many different options that we have to offer our patients, and the many tools in our toolbox. So we have traditional Chinese medicine, where we can do acupuncture, acupressure. We can do herbal, ancient Chinese herbal medicine, which takes a little bit more practice, but we learned a little bit about it. We can do IVs, which is great, injection therapy. A lot of people are now going into doing PRP and all those other things. There's a whole realm of injection therapy as well. There is herbal medicine, botanical medicine, which is super I really love, but not a lot of people like know so much about it. And it's like the kookier side of naturopathic medicine that I really, really like. So yeah, we got the herbals, the tinctures, like you can do like poultices and like wraps and salves and all that stuff, which is really cool. There's the more physical medicine side, so we can, just like chiropractors, we can do manipulations, we can do orthopedic testing just like them, we can do massages just like RMTs. We've learned all about that in school as well. And then this one was counseling. That is like my number one, because I went from a BA in psych and I really like connecting with people, and that was like naturopathic counseling. I really, really loved it, and that's built into my everyday appointment anyway. So even if it's not like a counseling session, every appointment is like checking in, how is it going, and like seeing if we can help ease all of that. As part of your physical, it's just mental is always so important. Mental and emotional is so important to get through too. So yeah, lots of scope, and it's big, and I think we're, at least in BC, I don't know about the rest of Canada, but like the shortage in family doctors, we can fill that gap. Come see us, because we can help you. There is a lot of NDs out here, but and they practice in so many different ways. Everyone has their own thing. I know people who are just physical medicine. I know people who just do IVs. I know people who medical aesthetics, that's another thing. Botox, fillers, all that stuff. But not even just medical aesthetics. It's just like, it's like Botox for like specific like pain points, like TMJ, like those things. There's so many different options, and each naturopathic doctor has their own like niche and certain skill sets that they have, and so everyone's different. So find the right one for you, because we have so many options to give to our patients. So yeah, find one that works with you and for what you need.
Yeah, I think another good thing that NDs do is that counseling piece. Because when you think about most people dealing with a medical issue, it also drags heavy onto their mental health, especially if it's a complicated case, especially if they've been dealing with it for a long time, and especially if it's whatever condition that's maybe preventing them from actually living their life to their fullest. And then they go down the traditional medical route and they have limited time. They're waiting constantly for their next appointment, or waiting for a specialist, waiting for the result of their lab work, or waiting on the results of their MRI, or whatever it is. And it's a lot of just waiting and being inside your head, thinking of the worst case scenario, thinking that this is going to be the rest of your life. And maybe all you actually really need is having someone there longer longer than a traditional visit to the doctors, and having some like just someone to listen and have some sort of reassurance that you're actually progressing. Because when I work with people in person dealing with an injury, the worst thing I've seen is when people have this stagnation of like, I don't know if I'm getting better. Like, and we're hard, like as humans, it's really hard to think back, in the sense of like, if I ask someone, okay, how did your knee feel 3 days ago? And you're like, I don't know, bad. Like, you don't know those things unless you actually start tracking like how you're feeling, like out of 10. And if you're dealing with an injury, you just expect that every day feels bad. It's always terrible. So if you already come into a medical environment where you're just constantly thinking that everything hurts, everything is in pain, but you don't have someone to be like, well, like maybe let's put things in perspective. Like, they'll ask you more questions, they'll kind of guide you in the right direction. And I think that's a huge component to making people feel better, because it's really interesting, at least for me, where my typical client that comes into me is someone who's been dealing with an injury for a very long time. They've seen physio, chiro, RMT, they've had this injection, that injection, and it's been going on a long time. And they haven't seen any progress. Like, maybe they've seen a little bit with everything, but it kind of hit a hard plateau. And they've kind of don't have enough motivation and they don't feel like it's going to go anywhere. And it's sometimes just like the language that you give to people. And like, I see this all the time. I get someone in for an assessment and they're like, oh, like my hip is really bad, and I move it and I'm like, it's okay. Like, it's not bad. Like, this is like workable. And they're like, oh.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I can't remember who told me this, but like, you have to be so careful with the language that you use with patients or clients, because that's the only thing that's going to stick in your head.
Yes.
So 100%. If you say like, oh my God, this knee is really bad, that's all they're going to remember. Yeah. But if you go like, oh yeah, this knee just needs a little bit of work and we can do X, Y, and Z, and they go, oh. And like, after an assessment, I've had this a couple times where people will like message me or email me after saying that they already felt better. And all I did was move their hip or shoulder through a range of motion just to see what it is. And then when they come through their first session with whatever injury, one, they're worried that it's going to hurt again. Mm-hmm. But if I find an environment where they feel safe and they see what they can do and they get almost to a point where they're like, oh, I never knew I could do that, that shifts so much in their brain where they can actually have some hope that can like progress them to like recovery. But I don't know, I think mental health is kind of like the key to really anything, because like I tell clients all the time, like, if you want your physical health to improve, it's all determined with what's going on in your head. Like, if 100%. You're constantly negative or you hang around with people that are negative, like, that's how you're going to start thinking about everything. But the moment I can kind of switch that, where you start going into safe environments and you start seeing progress, like, that changes so much. But
it's the connection piece, right? Because sometimes your health or whatever's going on with a patient is like, it's heavy on their mind. But if you are, as a practitioner or somebody who's just helping, it kind of like lessens the load when you can connect with them about it. And then they go, oh, okay, I'm not alone in this. We're working together in this. And it helps them to kind of move away from the negative and like, oh, I'm the kind of like, not really woe is me, but like, I'm in this, it's so hard, I can't do anything. But if somebody's there to help guide you and you can trust them, then it just helps them. And it's already like 50% of the way to recovery or healing, because like the mindset has changed, right?
Yeah.
I think it's super important. That's definitely like my philosophy is connection, because that's the best way to help.
Yeah. Maybe for time, because I think if we can keep these episodes to 30 minutes, it'd be a good starting point. But maybe what we can also talk about a little bit in regards to, even if we unpin that whole relationship thing, because one thing I wanted to bring up was like, you went through school for naturopathic medicine through COVID.
Yes.
Right? And I think this is going to be a good link to mental health that we were just talking about. Oh, yeah. And the fact that our relationship survived during COVID when we were living in a 1-bedroom apartment and like your like desk was essentially like where our kitchen was. Yeah. And like I was also working online at home at the same time. And I don't even know how we went through that. And like,
I mean, don't get me wrong. We had some moments where not boundaries were crossed, but like professionalism was blurred. That was hard. I mean, school in general for me was very difficult mentally and emotionally. It was like really draining. I've definitely like the lowest I've felt in my whole life. That's why when I graduated, I felt so good. Even though I was pregnant, I was like, the best feeling I've ever. It was like, here. It was hard, for sure. And then COVID helped. For me, I didn't feel like COVID made it worse. It allowed for me to stay home and be more comfortable at home. You got to be home a little bit, and we're like, we were home together. So we had moments where if I had a break, I could see you. So I don't look at being at home for COVID during school as like necessarily a a bad thing, because it allowed for me to have more connection with you. It was hard for school because they had to change all their like platforms so it made it harder school wise, but like for us it just gave us more reason to connect more. We can spend more time, and it literally forced us to be at home together because we couldn't go anywhere. But again, like, I don't know, I didn't like, I never get tired of being with you, and so it wasn't an issue. It was fun. It sounds awful, but it was fun in a way that like we had to be creative on like, what are we gonna do today? You know, like, I'm done studying or you're done work, like, what are we gonna do? Play video games, like, do this. It was just like an interesting time, and I look back at it like it was fun because we got to it was like even though we were already living together, it was like a forced sleepover to like always like be creative and like do things together.
Yeah. So
yeah, I don't know if that makes any sense in terms of like
mental health.
Yeah.
No, but I think what you said is like the thing that I always try to find things that stand out when I like talk to people and basically in this kind of setting. But when you said how the 4 years of med school was like part of the lowest that you felt, and it was really difficult because like it's hard going through med school, but I find like the things in life that are worth it, you almost have to go through that, because if it was easy, like everyone would do it, like everyone would be a doctor, everyone would be like shredded to bits and super healthy, like the stuff that matters that are worth it in time and money, you're gonna have those kind of lulls and deep dives where you're like, what the hell am I doing with my life? Is this even worth it? But it's like that small little increments going forward, and then when you finish school, you're like, oh my god, this is it. I finally did it, right? But the thing that I've been talking about with clients recently is kind of this whole concept of like discipline. And I remember seeing this like clip with Mike Tyson talking about discipline, and he was saying that one of the reasons why he was so successful in his career was that he would do things that he hated, but he pretended like he liked it, right? Yeah. And it's like a funny way to like describe discipline, but 100% it is. Like, no one wants to wake up like as a fighter or any pro athlete at 4 a.m. to get practice in, and then take time after practice to do more stuff, and then like go to meetings or whatever it is, and like have that day in, day out. Like, think of like Olympic athletes, like they're training for 4 years to get onto the podium, hopefully, and they have to do all the stuff that they don't like. I don't think any pro athlete's like, oh,
and
sweet,
all the
I get to
sacrifices that they need to do
just for one shot. And then sometimes you get there and then like you tear your rotator cuff, and then you're like, was that even worth it? But I think that's something that we could probably speak on more, and just like the struggle of getting your health in order, your mental health in order, like doing things that get out of your comfort zone, like going to med school or like trying something new, or like the fact that there's so many people out there, and I tell this to like clients all the time, the hardest thing that you'll ever do to start your fitness journey is just walking through the doors in the gym for the very first time. Because there's so many people out there who know that they want to start training, they want to get their health in order, but the thought of like actually stepping into a gym, not knowing like what this machine is or what that guy's doing with that barbell, and you're like, I'm just gonna go on this treadmill, like that's the hardest thing, is like actually getting into the building. And that's literally step one. It's kind of like that small little piece that I think also, like, again, I'm gonna save this for the next episode, but like you actually changing your entire life if you were inactive and not really paying attention to your health. Like, it's not a 6 week, 8 week, 12 week, or 24 week thing. It's years. So sometimes I'll tell people, like, just like you doing your undergrad or med school, commit like 4 years of consistency, like an athlete trying to make the podium, and you actually work on your health every single day leading up to that 4 year mark. That's probably where you're actually going to see true change in your health. And then when people realize that it's actually a longer game than just like, oh, January 1st hit, I'm going to go to the gym every single day and see what happens. So sometimes it's just being more realistic and having, so maybe some tough conversations with yourself, being more self-aware and things like that. But this is my thoughts.
Yeah.
Maybe to end it, any last thoughts, comments? How the hell did this happen? Did the first episode even went well? Like, I don't even know.
What did we talk about?
I don't know.
We'll see.
But maybe to finish off, if people wanted to find where you are on social media, where you are in person treating patients, hit it up.
So you can find me on Instagram at Dr. Angeli Santos ND. That's my handle. I post almost every day tips, tricks on how to live a healthy life. If you're a toddler mom or dad, I got tips on that as well.
I just realized we never even introduced ourselves. Like, hey, I'm Raph, and like you know what I mean. Like, we didn't even say our names in the beginning.
People don't even know who we are.
Yeah, sorry, go on until I cut you off.
And then you can find me. I'm currently practicing out of Ace Wellness Clinic out in Walnut Grove. So yeah, book in if you need to. Do a meet and greet. Let's chat and see if I can help you.
And we'll put all the links into the show notes, description below, and we'll slap it all over social media if you need more info. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast, either on Spotify, on YouTube, or where else we decide to put it up. And if you guys have questions, feel free to reach out.
That would really help us guide.
Yeah, like you can leave a comment below of like literally anything. Like if you want to know more about naturopathic medicine, if you have a weird condition, what should I do? If you have an injury, if you have questions about relationships or whatever it is, just like
one thing we didn't even touch on is like parenting.
Parenting, yeah, we'll eventually get into that.
Not saying that we're like experts.
No, not at all.
No, but we have some experience.
Yeah, but yeah, leave comments below if you want your question answered. And till next time, this is the Wellness Hustle, and we'll keep giving you some sweet advice.